Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. So this week I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to take you on a journey with me and show you how I intend on hacking this pattern. I haven't decided which one of these views I'm going to use as the base, but all of these are essentially the same shirt. The only difference is you do have some options if you want to add like trim around the neckline. There's a ruffle here that you can add for view C to that neckline, a ruffle to the sleeve of view B. So there are some different things that you can add to the pattern, but essentially the front and the back and the sleeves are the same for most of views. View D, you have a separate sleeve, and view C doesn't have a sleeve at all. But for these two views, A and B, it's essentially the same sleeve. So that's basically what I'm going to be working on. And then the fabric that I want to use is this fabric right here. And you all are probably familiar with this fabric. This is the Floral Dreams fabric. It's a fabric that I purchased from Mood Fabric. It's a Voile, so it's very, very lightweight. You can almost pretty much see through it. So I will be wearing like a tank or a cami underneath of it. But it's really lightweight and it's perfect for summer. So I want to make a top out of that. As always, I started this project by tracing the pattern pieces. This is a practice that I do quite frequently, especially when I make any kind of alterations or adjustments to my patterns. Before going into the project, I knew I wanted to change the hem of this pattern. The original hem has like a curve at the bottom, and I wanted more of a squared hem. So this was a very simple and easy adjustment. All I did was I extended the side seams, that vertical line on the side seams past the curve, and I squared it by meeting the horizontal line in the middle of the pattern. But I explain this in more detail in the next segment. After I made that alteration, I then added about 5 inches to the sleeve ruffle pattern for view B. And I added this 5 inches in length because I wanted to have more of a gathered detail in my sleeve. Okay, so here is the first mock-up. And as you can see, the sleeve on the left and the sleeve on the right are essentially two different styles for the sleeves. It's the same pattern. I used the same pattern, which was the pattern for views A and B for the sleeve. You'll see on the left, which is probably on your right if you're looking on the other side of the camera here, there's no ruffle on it or anything like that. It's just a basic, simple sleeve that has been attached to the garment. And on the right side of me here, this sleeve, it's still the same length as this sleeve here. I just added the ruffle. And what I found with that is on my body type anyway, is that I actually need a little bit more length to this sleeve so that that ruffle will look good. I don't want it to stop at my bicep. It just isn't really a good look. So I am going to lengthen this sleeve here just about maybe 3, maybe 4 inches. If you don't want to wear the garment like this and you're intending to wear it like this and you don't want your bra strap to show, you may need to add maybe a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch more to the shoulder here. So what I did is I went ahead and I added another 1/2 inch around the entire garment. So on the sleeve pattern as well as on the front and the back bodice, I added a 1/2 inch. So that way, when I'm wearing my bras and things like that, it won't show up here. Now, that change was not made on this particular garment here. So I will show you that on the second mock-up that was made. But before I show you the second version, let me show you the back here and some of the things that the ideas that I have been playing with and things that I've been thinking about doing. The back of the garment here, the neckline dips lower than the front. So that is a design of the pattern. Even though I've added a 1/2 inch, it's still lower because that's how it was designed. And also this here is not included into the pattern. It doesn't tell you to put a line of elastic across the back. That there was my own doing, because I have found that the back of the garment does have quite a bit of fabric back here. And I thought maybe adding a row or two of elastic would help with that. But I'm not quite for certain if I really like this look or not. It fits. It's a really great way of cinching in some of that back and also some of that fabric back there without having to worry about darts and all that stuff. So that is an idea of something that I might do that for the future. I don't know if I'm going to do it with this particular finished garment that I'm making today, but that is something that I think would actually look good maybe in the future. Okay, so here we are with the second mock-up here, made out of a lavender gauze fabric from Joann Fabrics. And as you can see, the neckline is drastically different. Although it's basically the same style, that elastic band really makes a difference depending on what size you use. In this particular case, I think this one was 1/2 of an inch, whereas the other one was 1/4 of an inch. So it definitely makes a difference of the type of elastic that you use, and the pattern actually calls for 1/4 of an inch. So that's what I use for the first garment. But for this one, like I said, because I wanted to widen the shoulders and have more coverage on the shoulders so that my bra doesn't show, or any other undergarments. In terms of like the sleeves, you see that I kept the original sleeves where I cut it off above the where the elastic channels are supposed to go on view A. And then for the back, I didn't put any elastic in the back, but I decided, hey, if I really want to cinch the back in, all I need to do is use a belt. And of course, if I put elastic back there, it might not look good with the belt. So at this point, I decided that I was pleased with the purple gauze mock-up, and I was ready to move forward from that point and cut out my finished project. So the fabric that I'm working with here is a floral voile, and this fabric was purchased from Mood Fabrics, and the link to this is in the description box below. This pattern is very simple and easy to construct. Basically, it just has a front. So the bodice front, the bodice back, it has a sleeve and a ruffle pattern. So basically, I started by stitching the front and the back pattern together by the side seams, and then I moved on to stitch the sleeves together as well at the side seam. After I did all that, as you can see, I went to the ironing table and I pressed all my seams open. And I like to do this here so that, you know, everything lays nice, flat, neat, and you can see those nice crisp lines on the side of your garment. So that's what I did to all of the pieces. And then after that, I cut about 1/4 of an inch of the side seams. And then after I did all that, I went ahead and I used my serger to serge all these pieces together. And you don't really have to do that, especially with a voile. You can use pinking shears, or you can even do a zigzag stitch or whatever. But I decided to use my serger because I just like to use my serger on cotton projects. I also use my serger around the neckline of the garment as well, and around the sleeve as well, as you can see here. And then for the ruffle, I just turned it under. After I serged the bottom of the sleeves, I turned it under, pressed it down, and then I stitched it at about 3/8 of an inch. I just wanted a real narrow hem for the ruffle of the project. And so I attached that. Well, what you have to do is you have to put gathers in the sleeve first, and you do that by making 2 rows of basting stitches, and you pull those basting stitches so that you can gather the ruffle in, and so you can actually have gathers in your ruffle sleeve. So that's what I did, and then after I did all that, I attached it to my sleeve, and I stitched that together as well. And after I stitched that together at 5/8 inch, I serged that as well. And I will show you that here in a moment. Everything was pressed nice and neat. And there you are. That's how I serged the inside of the sleeves. So after I did all that, I went ahead and I attached the sleeves to the front and the back of the shirt. Now remember, I told you all that I serged the top of the sleeve as well as the top of the neckline. So I did this because after you stitch your sleeves to the garment, you're going to roll the top of your neckline inward about a 1/2 inch, and then you're going to put elastic through. You're going to create a channel basically, and you're going to feed elastic through that. And so that's why I serged the top of that neckline. But right now I am stitching the sleeve to the front and the back of the top. And then after I stitch the sleeve to the front and the back, I press it, and then I trim away the extra fabric. I think I trimmed it about 1/4 inch down, and then I serged that as well. For the hem of the garment, I serged the bottom of the shirt, and then I turned it inward and also pressed it down. And I have a really narrow hem here as well, and I think that's a 5/8 inch hem. Everything was pressed down and then stitched in place. So here you see me, I am pressing my seams open for my sleeve so that my sleeve can lay nice and flat as well. So I do this first before I serge that together. So I trim it away, as I mentioned before, and I think I trimmed it at, I think I trimmed off about a little over 3/8 inch. And after I trim all that away, I go over to my serger and I serge that together for both the left and the right sleeve. Now at this point, this is where I take the top neckline and fold it inward. And folding that inward to about a 1/2 inch. And when you fold that inward and press it in place, you do want to stitch that down, but you want to also make sure that you leave an opening so that you can feed your elastic in there. So basically this is acting as a channel. So you just want to make sure that you leave, like I said, an opening so you can feed your elastic through it. So after I press this down, I go over to my sewing machine and I stitch that in place. And I believe I stitched this, like I said, it's turned inward about a 1/2 inch. And so it's stitched right on that 1/2 inch line. And then you just take your 1/4 inch of elastic and you feed that through your channel. So after I fed this through the channel of the top of the neckline, I put a safety pin in there and I tried it on to kind of see where I wanted it to lay. This is an easy beginner-friendly pattern that was copyrighted in 2005, but it's still in print and in store. So it is somewhat of a vintage pattern, but you can still get a copy of it at your local Joann store. So I selected a size 14, and that's basically a 43.5 inches for the bust, and the waist is going to be approximately the same because it's basically a square pattern with no shaping in it whatsoever. So you can get there are two different sizes that are available. There's 8 to 14 and there's 16 to 22. So those are options that are available. I made this pattern 4 times. You will see another version of this pretty soon, sometime next week, because I just recently made another one and I'm in love with it. Here are a few images of how my finished garment turned out. I'm really pleased with this one. I hope this video was helpful and entertaining to you. Please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this one. All right, everyone, until next time, bye.